If you think you can't start a business because the market is saturated, I'm about to completely flip your perspective and show you why saturation is actually the biggest opportunity indicator that you could ask for. So, I'm also going to show you exactly how to use it to your advantage. And by the end of this video, you are going to understand why I get excited when I hear people say that a market is too crowded. So, I'm going to give you the exact strategies to dominate any so called saturated market. Now, I have built multiple 7 and 8 figure businesses in markets that people told me were already too saturated. So, when I launched my shapewear brand, there were already hundreds of competitors out there. I mean, definitely nothing special about my business. And when I moved into supplements, there were already thousands of businesses selling supplements. When I stepped into the online education space, there were already millions of courses available online. So much content online. But this is what I discovered. Every single one of those saturated markets made me millions of dollars because I understood what saturation really means. So it means there's proven demand. It means that you've got validated customers, and there's also a massive opportunity for anyone who knows how to stand out. So I've helped thousands of my students enter saturated markets and also dominate them. And very interestingly, the students who try to avoid crowded spaces are often the ones who struggle to find customers. Now, the ones that embrace saturation are often the ones who are going to succeed the fastest. So, here is exactly what I'm going to walk you through in this video. First, I'm going to explain why market saturation is actually market validation in disguise. And next, I'm going to introduce you to what I call the saturation advantage and why crowded markets are often much easier to succeed in. And then I'm going to give you my market domination framework, which is a step by step strategy for winning in any competitive market. And I'll also show you some real examples of how to turn saturation into your biggest competitive advantage. So after this video, you will never be afraid of competition again. So let's start with what people mean when they say a market is saturated. Now, most of the time, they just mean there's a lot of competitors. But are they confusing competition with true saturation? So, true saturation would mean that every potential customer already has the perfect solution and nobody out there in the world is looking for anything new. And let's be honest, that almost never happens. When you go out and see lots of competitors in a space, it tells you something important. It tells you there's a proven demand. And it also tells you that customers have money and that they are willing to spend it on those solutions. It also tells you that the market is large enough to support multiple businesses. So think about your local area. How many restaurants are in your local area? I mean, I'm probably going to guess dozens, maybe hundreds. Now, is the restaurant market saturated? I mean, of course not. New restaurants are opening all of the time, and a lot of those restaurants succeed. So then, why does this happen? People eat multiple times a day, every single day, and they also crave variety. So there is always room for somebody who delivers a better experience. Now, when I entered the shapewear market, there were already so many other major players out there, like Spanx and also hundreds of smaller brands. And a lot of people told me I was too late or that it wouldn't work. I mean, my sister even said, that is a very weird product. No one's going to buy that. But the saturation told me something very powerful. The saturation meant that millions of women were already buying shapewear, and I just really needed to give them a reason to buy from me instead. So, a saturated market proves that customer demand exists and people are willing to pay, the market size is substantial, and the business model works, and also that there is room for differentiation. Now, let's talk about why crowded markets can actually be easier to succeed in. Now, the first advantage is that in a saturated market, customers already understand the problem. So they already know the solutions exist, and you don't need to convince them very hard that your product category matters. Now, compare that to a brand new market where your job is to convince people that they even have a problem in the first place. And the second advantage is that proven business models already exist out there. So you can study successful competitors. You can look at their pricing, their marketing, product features, their positioning, and all of this is going to give you a clear roadmap. Now, the third advantage is that the tools to reach your ideal customer are already available. So, whether it's ads or influencers or maybe media coverage or online marketplaces, those channels, they are already set up. All you have to do is use them effectively. Now, the fourth advantage is that with a lot of competitors, it becomes much easier to spot gaps. So, all you have to do is look at customer complaints, maybe some unmet needs, and every competitor's weakness becomes your opportunity. Now, the fifth advantage is that customers are already actively looking for solutions. So, your job is not to convince anybody to search, it is just to make sure that they find you instead. So, the search volume is already there, keywords are proven, the buyers, they're out there and they're ready. You just need to show up in the right places. So, when I entered the online course space or the digital training space, there were tons of courses out there, like so many other trainings out there. But the saturation actually made it really, really easy for me to succeed because people already knew what online courses were. So, the payment plans, they were already in place. The marketing channels, they were already proven. I just looked at what all the other competitors were doing and sort of replicated their marketing strategies. I could see what topics were performing well already. And I could also find customer complaints so that I knew how I could be better. Now, let's go through what I call the market domination framework. So, these are 5 simple steps that are going to help you stand out to win in a crowded space. So, the first step is competitive intelligence. Start off by studying your top 10 competitors in detail. Look at their pricing, look at their product features, look at how they market, and also who they target. Read their customer reviews and figure out what people are unhappy about their business. And your goal here is to identify those gaps, the little things that nobody is quite doing well yet, and spend a full week on this. So, not just a quick look, do a thorough deep dive. Spend a full week on this, becoming an expert on your competitors. I would even suggest buying their products or following them on social media. I mean, I like to sign up to their email list. You want to know them better than they know themselves. Now, the second step is finding your differentiation angle. And you do not need to reinvent the wheel here. You just need to make it roll a little bit better. So choose one clear way of standing out. Maybe you could offer better quality by using more premium materials. Or maybe you could offer more affordable pricing without cutting those corners. Or maybe your customer service is just so good that people cannot stop talking about your customer service. Or maybe you can serve a specific niche better than anybody else, like mums, for example. Now, the third step is the 10x better rule. So, do not aim to be slightly better. Aim to be 10 times better in one specific area that matters truly to the customer. So, if most companies offer good customer service, maybe you can offer absolutely legendary service. If they offer decent quality, maybe you can try and offer a level of quality that absolutely blows people away. You don't need to be better everywhere or be good at everything. You just need to be unforgettable in the one place. Now, the fourth step is to niche down. Trying to be everything to everyone is the fastest way to be ignored. So, I would pick a specific segment and absolutely dominate that segment first. So, instead of selling supplements to everybody, for example, I would just start off by creating supplements specifically for busy working moms. So, getting very, very specific on that niche, just one clear niche. Now, the fifth and the final step is superior marketing execution. This has to be the most important part. Now, in most saturated markets, the marketing is pretty average. So that's your opportunity. Great marketing almost always outperforms a great product. So I'd focus on sharp messaging that connects with your audience, create really consistent, valuable content, and also use powerful testimonials and real social proof. And also being really strategic with your ads and your partnerships. So, if you can do these 5 things very, very well, you won't just survive in a competitive space, you will absolutely dominate it. Now, let me give you a few real examples to help you put this into perspective. The razor market used to be completely dominated by Gillette. It probably seemed impossible for new players to break through, but then Dollar Shave Club came in with this new angle. They came in with convenience and value. They made it much, much easier to buy razors, and they turned that into a $1 billion business. Now, they did not make razors better, they made the buying experience better. Now let's take a look at the eyewear space. Luxottica controlled most of the industry, but Warby Parker spotted the pain points. So frames were overpriced, the buying process was slow and confusing, and there was no easy way to try before you buy. So Warby Parker filled those gaps and turned the weaknesses of their competitors into strengths of their own. So, when I launched my own shapewear brand, I went deep into the research. I studied the top 20 competitors, I read over 1,000 customer reviews, and that is where I started to find patterns. The customers were frustrated about poor sizing, uncomfortable fabrics, and bad service. So, I really focused on fixing those exact things. So, I created a more accurate sizing guide. I used more comfortable materials and I invested heavily in standout customer service. And I also executed marketing at a very high level. So I became obsessed with marketing. I was studying everybody's marketing strategies to see what was working and what wasn't. So I partnered up with a lot of influencers and also leaned into real, authentic testimonials, aka your social proof. And the result of that was $3.5 million dollars in my first year in a market that people said was too crowded to succeed in. Now, let me show you how you can do the same. So, start off by jumping on your competitors' websites and reading all of their 1 to 3 star reviews. So, those complaints, they are basically your free product roadmap. So, let's say people keep complaining about something like bad customer service, then that is your opening. I'd also make a spreadsheet of all your competitors' features and go through it to note down the things that everybody seems to offer. So, those are your basics. You're going to need to at least match the basic functionality and then find the things that nobody is doing. So, the things that nobody's doing, that is your opportunity. Study your competitors' pricing. So look at the full price range. Is there a budget option that people are asking for? Or is there a luxury version that is missing? Maybe there is a sweet spot in the middle that nobody's focusing on as well. So this is where you could come in. I mean, just have a look at the full picture. And also think about the customers who are being ignored. So, are there any age groups not being served? Or let's say any regions with limited options? And finally, think about where your competitors are not showing up. So, are there social platforms they're not using? Are there types of content or advertising channels that they are ignoring right now? So, those could be your moments to shine. Now, after building multiple businesses in so called saturated markets, here is what I've learned. The market is not truly saturated. So, what's really happening is that customer attention is being pulled in multiple directions, and your job is to give them a reason to pay attention to you. Now, in these markets, competitors, they can get very lazy. They stop innovating, and that is your chance to rise up. And most importantly, customers are often still frustrated. So they are constantly looking for something better, something fresh, something a little bit different. Now, after this video, I want you to have a mindset shift about saturation. And next time you catch yourself thinking that there are too many competitors, remind yourself that there are countless opportunities to stand out. So instead of believing that the market is too crowded, remind yourself that the market is proven and full of potential. So don't say things like, I can't compete. Say, I can see exactly where to improve, and that's where I'm going to win. If you've been holding off on starting your business because you believe the market is too saturated, you might be missing out on the biggest opportunity right there in front of you. So that's why I created a free training that shows you exactly how to dominate even the most competitive spaces. I'm going to walk you through the research that I do, the gaps that I look for, and also the positioning strategies that make competition irrelevant. Now, remember, saturation is not your enemy, it is your proof that people are already buying. So the real question isn't whether you can compete in a crowded space, it's actually whether you're willing to do what it takes to win.